So welcome. I actually did prepare my frickin' notes today. I actually prepared. So welcome to the shit show, which will be less of a shit show than usual. If anyone knows when I'm unprepared, it can be quite the mess. But it is what it is, and I show up unapologetically. And sometimes you have me prepared with show notes, and sometimes you don't. But today I did prepare because there's just a lot going on, and also I'm a little limited on time. I have an appointment at the top of not this coming hour, but the next hour. So I do have to make sure I'm off in time to go get to that appointment. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing all right today. I have just finished my coffee. Dang, I thought I had coffee to sip on during this. That was my mistake for getting in a rush. I had coffee. What are you sipping on today? Did you bring something to snack on or to get comfy this morning? Are you at home or are you at work? And you should be working, but you're here hanging out with me. Either way, thank you for your time. I'm grateful that you're here. There are many things one could choose to do with their time. There are many people you could spend to choose your time with. Words. Anyway, and you're choosing to spend your time with me. So I'm really grateful that you're honoring me with the gift of your time. So I'll try to make this worth your while. Since I realize everyone's time here is valuable. Uh, Big things on the news this past week, and mostly from this weekend, because there's just been a lot happening in the short days. One that I'm pretty sure most people are aware of is Saturday. There were two big events. Okay, Bear, drink the water right now. There was the No Kings protest, which overshadowed the other event, which was Donald Trump's little fascist birthday parade. Which if you're on social media, it's just been really wonderful to see photos and video of how empty Trump's little parade was and how big the protest really was, and just how sorry, that dog drinking water. I'm trying to like push through and ignore it, and it's just like etch a sketching my brain. Okay, good. Whew, okay, what was I saying? Looking at the notes. Yeah, so it was just amusing to see like the empty, poor crowd sizes at Trump's little fascist dictator parade, and then just the squeaky tank with no cheering or anything. With that, it's just dead silent. Go away. How rude. For that to ring, that person called me like 3 or 4 times. So how rude. Anyway, distracting. So anyway, the photos and videos, the protest photos were huge and definitely overshadowing the the fascist parade that Trump had. But what was also amusing was, this I think it was yesterday, the White House shared doctored images and videos, and DHS shared the doctored image. Um, and then they reshared like images of this parade where they like added in crowds. Like they added crowds after the fact, which is kind of funny. And then like there's like a video also that like I'm just like they added a crowd in the video. It's just kind of funny. And then another thing I noticed, and someone was pointing out that Fox News, like compare the footage like PBS versus Fox News, and Fox News added manufactured crowd noises like cheering, and you can hear it just like shut off like on an instant. Like you can tell it's a laugh, like not a laugh track, but a cheering track. And so Fox News added crowd sounds so that Fox viewers like thought there was a crowd there. So like that really like that's propaganda right there. Like it's pretty bad. And so no wonder the people who only watch Fox News think this thing was a huge success, because they're being told it's a huge success. And even our own, White House and DHS is putting out fake images and videos representing like who was there when it was so poorly attended. And then the other thing about it is I've seen a lot of people who say they are in the military or were former military online talking about the soldiers that were marching in Trump's little parade and how they were not marching in step. And so the comment was that like you learn to walk in basic, and it's like one of the most basic things you learn, and you don't really forget it. And usually there's someone designated in the group who, like, if they notice people are out of sync, will like start calling steps so that they can get back in sync together. And So there's a lot of speculation among military people that this uh, walking sloppily was a protest. And I can't confirm or deny because I obviously am not never been in the military. I don't care to serve, don't have any desire. But for those who do, if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear your perspective on it because I think those who have been through learning to march and like know what it's like would be the ones that we should turn to for that information, who would know better than anyone else. But I did think that was interesting because I've seen multiple people say similar. Something I did think was funny, that I had a really interesting emotional reaction when I heard. Like, I was like laughing and crying for like when I since I was like that was a really interesting, like, so many emotions at once. Because it was like, I don't know. Anyway, I can't even explain, but they were walking to, what is that song? It's Creedence Clearwater Revival, something Sun, Privileged Sun. Hang on. But basically they were walking Fortunate Son, Fortunate Son. So they were marching to Creedence Clearwater's Fortunate Son. And does anybody in the comments know about that song, Fortunate Son, by Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR? So basically, it's like talking about the draft and how he's not someone who can get out of the draft because he's not a well-off, fortunate son like draft dodger Donald Trump. And the other thing was funny about and ironic about Trump's little fascist parade is, they have him saluting the Vietnam soldiers who would have been the soldiers he draft dodged from being a part of. And so he was saluting them. And then the song for the Vietnam, like, Creedence Clearwater Revival was about people like Trump who were like fortunate sons who were draft dodgers. Uh, so I thought that was really interesting. And I want to know who picked that song for them to walk to. Uh, because that song seems like a protest choice to just choose that song. I ain't no fortunate son. I ain't no fortunate son. It ain't me. It ain't me. Yeah. That one. So that's kind of interesting because I don't know if people on MAGA have actually listened to the lyrics for a lot of the songs they choose sometimes because they'll choose songs that's like, I don't think you know what the song's actually about. So it could be because MAGA's like that. They've chosen a song. They don't really know at all what it's about, but I'm hoping uh, maybe someone in the military picked the song. I don't know, but I just thought that was great. And honestly, what was alarming was to see that there was violence over the weekend, not from protesters, but there was violence from police force, especially at LAPD, like stepping on people with horses and tromping people down with horses. LAPD targeting reporters and media and news was a big problem. And then we had, people in Utah, there was like a shooting and they were looking for someone. There was the assassination that took place. So there was like in California, somebody ran into a crowd of protesters with a car, or ran into a crowd with a car. In Florida, where people were told in advance they could run protesters over with their vehicle if they felt threatened. And so they also even had in Florida had a sheriff that even threatened to kill protesters, and that threat sheriff, of course, comes out. It has a history of corruption, racial profiling, and bribery. Go figure. Like, no surprise there, right? But so like in Florida, the law enforcement was even and the those in power were even talking about and encouraging violence against protesters. So considering that, I honestly think I was worried it was going to be worse than it was, to be perfectly honest. Like, there was violence against protesters from MAGA people. There were, government officials who were, assassinated. There was a threat, supposedly a credible threat at the Capitol in Austin as well. And so in like a lot of different even states and cities, people were told not to protest, and people came anyway. People were told not to protest in Washington, where the march was happening, where Trump's march was happening, by Trump himself, who said, they wouldn't tolerate protesters, but also by event organizers who said, no, we're specifically intentionally not marching in Washington. and were marching everywhere else. But people showed up anyway because these protests, while there are some big groups that are supporting them, HRC, Human Rights Campaign, Indivisible, 5051. There's a bunch of immigration groups in Austin that are organizing and supporting protests, and I'm sure, ACLU probably is supporting their own things. Like, all of these different groups are doing all of these different protests and have been doing different protests, for months. There are protests like every day, just about. But on Saturday, so many of these different groups came together to protest at the same time, which is why I think, of course, there were people at the Capitol, because there's not just one protest organizer. Like, these are many different grassroots grassroots groups getting together. And so, yeah, one organizer may have said, absolutely don't go here, but it's not just one organizer. It's not just Indivisible. It's not just 50-51-50. It's so many different groups that came to protest the parade day because people just were so offended by it. Like, there was a veterans group that people got arrested on like Friday before the protests even kicked off, because people are just so outraged with it. It's just really disgusting. But it definitely could have been much worse. I was a little worried because in Texas, like, in advance, they called in the National Guard, and I was like, that could really escalate things. So I'm grateful it wasn't worse. It was really great to see how many people stood up together. I do think as MAGA people become more desperate, they will become more violent, because many of them right now, I spend way too much time listening to how the MAGA people talk, trying to understand them and, their ways. I don't know what you call them. But like, a lot of them are feeling very angry because they feel like people are being, like, nasty to them. They feel like their friends are cutting them off. Their families members aren't talking to them. People are like, they feel like they say, just for my political beliefs, like, people, can't just be friends. We can't just agree to have different opinions. That's like the way they think about that. They're like, we're allowed to have different opinions. It's just because of my political beliefs. That's how they think. And they're just like, these people are like cutting me off, and, they're turning people against me. And so they think that being ostracized, it's making them more desperate, I guess, and more upset, more, when people are isolated and alone, they do become more angry. And so they almost are like, because we're pushing them out, and I push them out of my groups and spaces entirely. I have no space or peace for them. I'm gonna protect my community from them. But when we push them out, we honestly kind of are pushing them back into the hands of the cult. And so it becomes, they have no one but other indoctrinated cult members who are okay with the hate and the bigotry, because it's not just politics, and it's not just differences of opinion. Like, a difference of opinion, there's a meme that says, is like toppings that go on pizza, not should trans people be allowed to exist, or should people with uteruses be allowed to determine what they do with their own bodies. Like, if your difference of opinion is going to impact the way people around you are allowed to live, especially if the way they were living is something that should in no way harm you, you just leave, you can't let people live, then that's like not a difference of opinion. That's oppression. That's a problem. That's trying to control other people. And that's the problem with so many of these nationalists, is no, we're not going to bark, guys. No, we're not. I know the other dogs are barking. We're not going to bark. Is they think they're in a battle between good and evil. Right. And so, to them, we are these, like, out of touch with God sinners. We're of the world, is a thing I hear them say a lot. And so those of us who, like, aren't following the way they believe we should be following, which is not even very Christ-like, in my opinion, because, I come from the church. I'm not in the church, but I come from the church, so I know the word. Um, and so, like, they say, like, if in their minds, like, we are compromised because we are not led by God. So, like, they think they need to save us and step in because we can't be trusted to make good decisions for ourselves because we're not being led by God. We're being led by the devil. And so because we are led by the devil, according to these nationalists, we shouldn't be allowed to make laws. We shouldn't be allowed to make decisions for ourselves. We shouldn't be allowed to participate in the world the way we've been because, they think that their way is the only way and everyone else is like being led by the devil. And so they believe that it is their duty to take over and take control of us like we are their property or their children or their livestock or something they need to care for and force us to follow God. That's basically what they want to do. They want to force godly laws, and nothing they do is really godly, on us because they think we can't make our own decisions for ourselves. There are 4 dogs here, and I am just guessing they are all going to drink water during this live. Even though they were all asleep when I started, they're all going to wake up and have a beverage. Oh, and I keep remembering I have nothing left in mine. Okay. Okay, let me look at the comments real quick because I haven't gotten in the comments yet. Hello, all of you creepers who have not said hello. Don't worry, I never read out the names. Squeaky tanks. Yeah, the squeaky tank wheels were funny. I thought the tanks would be bigger. Yeah. The robot dogs, like, not very impressive. Reagan with Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA back in the 80s. He thought the song was patriotic. Yeah, exactly. That's a good example. More than politics, it's a cult. Yeah, no, it literally is a cult. And that's why, like I know because I grew up with these fundies, like they would, like, for example, like one church, like they were only allowed to marry other members of that same church. Although the church was a chain, so you could find someone in another chain of your church in another city to marry, but you could only marry a member of your church. And also the pastor got to like basically pick who you married. So like the pastor had to approve it, and the pastor would match people up. Sometimes if the pastor saw you were with someone a lot, they might match you with someone they know you like. But it was totally up to the pastor to pair people together, which was really creepy. And then the other thing that's very cult-like, and this is like red flag cult behavior, is like anytime anyone would like leave the church, they would be ostracized and cast out and like shunned. Shunning is a thing that cult members do. Like they shun the outside world. That's why all of us who are not in the church are of the world and like not to be trusted. Don't spend time with us. We might corrupt you with our worldly ideas, right? And so, like, when someone would leave the church, they would shun them and be like, you can't talk to them. They backslid. You can't talk to someone who's backsliding because, you know, they're not walking with God anymore, and you have to shun them. Like, that's peak cult behavior. The other thing that's very cult-like that I've witnessed firsthand with these fundy families is a lot of them will either homeschool their children, and so they'll pull their kids away from school so they can keep them away from the world. And away from the world, I mean, they're not allowed to watch TV, they're not allowed to be on the internet. Like most of these kids were taught to be afraid of the internet growing up because there's information out there. And there's corn that might kill you. You might get addicted to it. It'll ruin your life. You're gonna get possessed by the devil if you like get on the internet. Like, and then some of them really do believe in like straight up demonic possession. And like I'm not even joking. I wish I was joking. And so like they're kept away from TV, they're kept away from books, they're kept away from pop music and pop culture, they're kept away from worldly things, and they're raised this way, and they're raised to think that worldly people are something to be afraid of and to avoid, and that like anyone who's worldly is basically being led by the devil, and they're raised this way. And so basically their fellow people are dehumanized and othered in their eyes their whole lives. And so it's like they are raised in this us versus them kind of a thing. It's like they think they're in some zombie apocalypse and the rest of us are the zombies that are going to get them and corrupt their spiritually pure minds that they have cultivated by keeping themselves away from the world. And so like, you know, the things like they'll either homeschool their kids and keep them away from the world, or they will send them to these Christian funded church private schools. And I ended up in one of these schools for almost a year. My family didn't realize that's what it was. It was something that was apparently part of the school district and state funded dollars. It wasn't supposed to have any religious programming at all, but it was only religious. And so that's why, like in Texas, they want to do the school voucher bill because they want more of these religious schools to be able to get public tax money. Because these fundamentalist Christians send their kids to these fundy schools that are church schools, um, because they don't want them to have the same education. So, like, the books that, my homeschool peers that I knew growing up would teach were basically only Bible stories. And when I ended up in one of these fundy schools for less than a school year, it was very much the same thing. We didn't learn science. There was no science. There was history was only taught out of Bible stories. So, like, we had a history class, and it was the Bible. And remember, this was a school that was like a public private school, like kind of a deal, kind of a thing. And I was kind of sent there because I was having behavioral problems in the standard placement in the public school. Um, and so it wasn't supposed to be religious, right? And so there was no science. The history was taught Bible stories only. We just kind of sat in cubicles all day and just did these little workbooks by ourselves. And then when we would have recess, we were like not allowed to intermingle. Like, I have never been someone that, like, when I was growing up, I always hung out with the boys. And this was like a really big problem that I literally got in trouble with because they only wanted me to hang out with girls, and girls were mean to me. I didn't get along with them. We didn't like the same things. And so I got in a lot of trouble, like every day at that school, for not hanging out with the girls and for being caught hanging out with boys. Like, hanging out with boys was, something. And I was like I think it was fourth grade. I'm pretty sure it was fourth grade. And so hanging out with boys, I was getting in trouble for hanging out with boys because I was like, you know, I was me. I was like, I wanted to play with bugs and run around. I didn't want to do girl things. And the girls didn't want me around. So I would get in trouble for that all the time. And so, the thing that broke the straw for my mom and finally got me out of there because she didn't realize how bad it was, although there were lots of red flags, was that I brought one of the books home and I was doing like, I'd opened it and she saw in there that it was like talking about brown people being lazy. And my mom was like, "Oh, we're out of there," and pulled me out of that school, like, I think the next day, and put me back in public school in a different district. So I moved to a new district in public school because I had been having trouble in the public school and they didn't want me because nobody knew I was autistic and ADHD back then. And so, yeah, they didn't know what to do with me. And so because I was autistic and ADHD and I'm diagnosed, I ended up in a horrible Christian fundamentalist, Christian nationalist school that was very racist. And it was horrible. Everything about it was horrible. It was racist. It was sexist. It was disgusting. It was traumatic. Uh, And so I know very intimately, like, the kinds of things they want to do to keep people away from the world, and that they want to poison you uh, from a young age against other people. Um, so I don't know why I started on this track. How we got here, I don't remember. Um, Welcome to the shit show. But that's why I have notes, because I'm just gonna go back to my notes and get back to what I had on current events, because that's not well, it is a current event, but that's something that's been going on for probably longer than I've been alive, and I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in 2 more years. So this has been going on longer than I've been alive. So this isn't a current event. This is ongoing. Yeah. All right. Just so everyone is aware, because we've had a lot of distractions recently, the big ugly Trump bill is up again to be voted on very soon. So there's a lot of stuff in there that has nothing to do with a budget that is very dangerous. I haven't seen the very latest revision of it, but one recent revision I saw, it was like attacking so many pieces of the fabric of democracy and things like voting and our court system and giving more power to the president. It's not good. And so we really need to put pressure for this bill not to pass, because this big ugly bill, if really passing through Congress, can ratify a lot of things that have been viewed as not legal so far, but then could make them, public or make things so much worse going forward. So I know the big bill is long and ridiculous. That is the strategy. That's why Project 2025 was almost 1,000 pages, because they are really hoping that nobody is going to read this. That is why they do these things that are like so obnoxiously large. They don't want anybody to read it. So it's so big. They're like, and that's why they're telling people, don't read it, just sign it. Don't read it, just sign it. Like, what the hell? Like, and then, like we had Republicans who admitted they didn't read it. They just signed it. Like, Maggery, whatever her name is, Tyler Green, that woman, that horrible woman. She's like, "Oh, I didn't read it. I just signed it." Um, so just be aware this bill is back, and it is still very dangerous, and it hasn't been getting enough focus, because of everything else going on in the world. But it is still a really big deal. Whew, let's see what else. Oh, this is some good news. We'll see how it goes. Some journalists are suing the LAPD in the city of LA because of the targeting of journalists and media people during the protests over the past week, since last week and the week before. So that's good to see. I hope they do well in that case against LAPD, because I saw multiple videos of journalists being targeted. And so, the First Amendment, freedom of the press, right to record, especially events that are like news and law enforcement and public officials in the course of their duty, is protected for a reason. Like, people, you don't have to be a journalist and like go to some kind of school or have some formal credential to be a journalist. If you pick up a camera and you are documenting with the intent of like disseminating information to the public, and you are going to like share this information with the public, whether it's your own blog, your own website, you're going to share it with some news outlet and they're going to share it. Like, anyone can be a journalist, and it's kind of our duty. Like, if we see something where a public official is doing something wrong, we need to film them and document that and share that far and wide. And so that's like a really important like thing in our country that we have to do to hold our government officials accountable. And so an attack on journalism and the right to like video and photo in public is an attack on our ability to hold our government officials accountable for atrocities. Similarly to how other branches have been under attack, we are right now, the last two like barriers we have between the total, takeover of the regime is the judicial branch, which still hasn't, in my opinion, done enough. And then we have, journalists, the media, the court of public opinion. Uh, that's the last, the last fight we have. And so, we can't let them repress journalists and make it so that journalists are afraid to share the truth. Because right now, like, the truth is what we have to fight all of these lies and propaganda, because it is a regime of lies and propaganda. Another good news. Jimmy Swaggart, controversial TV evangelist. Jimmy Swaggart was hospitalized this past week. Happy Pride Month. Don't know what to say about that. Well, I just, it's always interesting to see when one of these TV ministers who've done so much harm to different marginalized communities gets sick and bites it during Pride Month. So there's always one every year, right? Like, it's interesting to see. Just saying. It's just like, seems like June is the month that, maybe it's just like they're so angry watching all the Pride stuff that they give themselves heart attacks. Like, maybe they're having heart attacks watching Pride parades. I don't know. But every June, it seems to be like we lose some big old TV minister, and it's like, good riddance. Oh, that's a good one. Home Goods, which I think is based in Dallas, but they're from Texas for sure, filed for bankruptcy because of tariffs. So that's interesting. I mean, Texas voted for Trump, sucks. I didn't, but, a lot of Texans did. And so, home goods, goodbye home goods. A bunch of cheap stuff's probably really bad for the environment. I don't know. I'm not really a home goods shopper, so not much to me, but it is just important to note that, these companies, even big companies now, are crumbling because of the Trump tariffs. And like we've had farmers and hotel and restaurant um, businesses come out and say that due to the immigration crackdowns, they are not able to stay staffed. They're having trouble getting people to gather produce, to find field workers. So they're not able to get people for these jobs now because of the immigration crackdowns. So this is hurting businesses that probably voted for Trump. A lot of farmers were pro-Trump. And so, he's hurting his own constituents. And so, it's the leopards eating faces continues, and I think will only continue to intensify in the coming months. See, another dog drinking water. Just waited for the last dog to go drink water. Can y'all hear that when the slurping happens? Like, you know what it is? I think my headphones are on transparency, not noise canceling. It's just so much worse. So here's some good news. Do you want some good news? I think we need more good news. And I hope this passes. California is proposing a No Secret Police Act, which would ban police from covering their faces. There's the fourth dog going to drink water. I told you. Yeah. Anyway, so that would be really great if that passes, to ban law enforcement in California from covering their faces. It should be a thing anyway, because, they are public servants. They are accountable to us, the public. We shouldn't be obeying them. They only have a right to bark orders at us if we are breaking the law. We are not violating the law. We don't have to obey these tyrants. And they also have a responsibility, usually in normal circumstances, to identify themselves if they are acting in a public capacity. So, like, if you ask an officer for his name or his badge number to identify himself, he's supposed to have to do that. And these ICE agents are not following even the most basic proper protocols in that way. They are not identifying themselves. They are not wearing badges in a lot of cases. Some of them have white supremacist tattoos. There's a lot of speculation that many of them are likely, 1099 or contractors, and that potentially some of them might even be J6ers, and that's why so many of them are wearing masks. I cannot confirm or deny any of this speculation. I've seen a lot of people speculating, because especially of all the white nationalist tattoos that people have seen on some of these people. But either way, we should have a right to know who they are. But I don't know if they're J6ers or not, but I do know that they're covering their faces because the actions they're carrying out are atrocious, and because on some level they must know that what they're doing is not going to play over well in the court of public opinion. And they're doing things that maybe they're ashamed of, because like they don't want their mom or their wife or their kids to know what horrible things they are doing. It's just terrible to see. Ooh. Oh, have we heard about the Trump Gold phones yet? Trump's releasing its own phone company, and then we'll have Trump T1 Gold phones that will come with road assistance and telehealth. I'm just like, telehealth, is that going to tell you not to get vaccinated and to take ivermectin? Oh my goodness. Trump is not the one I would want to go to for telehealth advice. I am really concerned to see. And I also can feel like roadside assistance from a Trump supported device is going to be like, oh yeah, you need help? You're on the edge of a cliff and you're worried you're going to freeze to death? We all die. Like, that's Trump roadside assistance. We all die. Or that's Trump telehealth. We all die. It's okay. Like, oh my goodness. This will be interesting to see. I just don't think customer service or quality has been a priority for Trump ever. So I just did think they're gonna be ripped off and have terrible phone service. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be awesome. I'd love to be wrong about something, because God, there's so much terrible shit I don't want to be right about right now. Um, MAGA does seem to be escalating violence, as I said. We did have, over the weekend, 2 Minnesota lawmakers that were assassinated. They did catch the accused assassin. Apparently, there was a list with other Democratic lawmakers, and on that list that were provincially prevented by catching this assassin. So, it's good that they caught them, but also I don't know that I've seen much statement from this. Like, there's so many things going on. What's the White House have to say about this? What's Trump have to say about this? Like, crickets. Like, a Tesla being keyed is terrorism, or a Tesla being attacked, they talk about nonstop for weeks, right? And then we have Minnesota lawmakers being assassinated, and they're just trying to pretend this didn't happen on the MAGA side. Like, what the double standards, right? Like, how is hurting a Tesla terrorism, and then we're just going to pretend two Minnesota lawmakers were not just assassinated by someone who had a hit list that was going to continue and go after more. Uh, but it's fascism. Speaking of fascism, Trump told ICE to target democratic strongholds, blowing, and also in the same Truth Social post, which was really long, really long. Let's see, hang on, I can show you. It's ridiculous. And I'm not going to read it to you because it's just so long-winded. But look at this ridiculously long post where basically Trump blamed immigrants for the existence of trans people in the United States and used that as justification for targeting Democratic strongholds. So he's going to tell ICE to go into blue cities all across the nation and show them who is the boss. It really sounds like something a fascist dictator would do. Is it just me, or anybody else kind of reading this as fascism? What else? Oh, Trump's FAA pick claimed he had a pilot license he didn't have, which I don't know. So far, all of his picks for all of these different roles have been massively underqualified, so this really isn't much of a surprise to me. I don't know if anyone expected any of Trump's picks to be qualified at this point, even though Trump ran on this promise to make everything merit-based. I'm not seeing anyone being picked who has any merit at all. Go figure. Uh, oh, yeah. And then I'll leave you with something that is maybe more unsettling if you haven't been paying attention. But if you've been paying attention, you've probably heard this already. Trump hinted at U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict earlier this week. So the no wars president is really doing a lot of war because, I don't even know what to say anymore. World War III. Has anyone seen Red Dawn? Like, you see Red Dawn and you're like, how would this even happen? This is so unrealistic. And like for most of my life, every time I watched Red Dawn, I was like, yeah, I don't know how this could even happen. And now watching Red Dawn, I'm like, now I know exactly how this could happen. I don't know. It's either the old one or the new one. I think I like the old one better than the new one, but I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's been actually years since I've seen it. I think I need to watch it again and rewatch it. But anyway, it's just a thought I keep having lately, watching the current events in the world unfold. Very unsettling to see. But that was it. That was my notes of all the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned today, just in the 1 hour breakdown of many things that happened kind of since, I think, Friday. It's just a weekend. You can't even keep up with all of it. So yeah, let me look in the comments, and then I do gotta go really soon. So let me see what we got in the comments. First Trump was for the LGBTQ community back in 2016, and now he's against them. He was only for the LGBT community after the radical, who after yeah, I mean, he everything with Trump is transactional. Yeah, basically. I mean, that's the whole deal, and that's what Target did too, and that's why like so many queer people, like when Target said they were dropping DEI, this was a third strike. You're out for a lot of queer people. Like other communities started to get on board with the Target boycott when that happened, but queer people had been boycotting Target since they started pulling their Pride merch because they hurt a lot of queer artists who they didn't support when MAGA attacked those individual artists for having stuff in Target. And so Target did all these queer artists really wrong. They did queer people wrong. They did the queer community wrong. It wasn't the first offense. And then, when they were like, we're moving away from DEIA, the queer community was like, yeah, F you. We're not surprised. We knew, we saw this, coming, because they were just doing what they thought was profitable, not realizing they had a very left-leaning base. And now I love the days when I go check on what Target's current sales and stock is doing, because it just goes. Meanwhile, Costco and companies that have said we are standing by our DEI efforts, love it. Because MAGA was all go woke, go broke. Like for months, maybe years, they were go woke, go broke, go woke, go broke. And in reality, it's go woke or go broke. They were forgetting a word. They were missing a word. It's go woke or go broke. They had it wrong. So I loved it. I love to see that. Like it makes me joyful to see. Before I go today, I want to let everyone know that I feel safe about this replay, so I will post the replay for anyone who didn't catch the beginning or wants to do a rewatch. If Substack makes some reasonable little short clips of this, I'll share some little clips, highlights. But the replay will probably be up in about an hour, maybe a little more. I've got a call I've got to get ready to go to. And that replay will be free for anyone to rewatch, paid or free subscriber. Today is the last day to get in on the first batch of these shirts. There's a link on Substack. I'll try to remember to put a link on the repost of the video if anyone wants to grab it. I will do another batch of these shirts. So just so you know, with Bonfire, I'm probably saying that wrong. The shirts go in like batches. So it runs like for a set amount of time, and then they run all at once, and then they ship all at once. And so I've already had some people on Facebook who have said they can't do it this batch, and so they want to get them. So I will do another batch, maybe 2 more batches. I think I did 3 or 4 batches of the first shirt design before it retired. And so I'll do a certain number of batches, but I've got a new design coming, and I've also got a sticker coming. So because somebody asked if they could get this on a sticker, and you ask and you shall receive. So I've got a sticker on the way with this design, in case shirts aren't people's things, because some people said shirts and clothing aren't my thing. And I'm like, it's cool. And they're like, do you have a sticker? And I'm like, let me ask if that's possible. So there's a sticker coming. So stay tuned for that. But like I said, today's the last day to grab one shirt that's in this batch. But if you don't grab it today, don't worry. I will do another batch. I just want everyone to know that there's another batch coming. That's the main thing. Like, I don't want you to think you're missing out if you don't get it today. If the only thing you're missing out on if you don't get it today is like the ship date that's sooner. Like there's a ship date like within the next couple business days after it closes today, like the shirts will ship. But if you get in the next batch, it'll probably be a few weeks before you get your shirt. But that's not a big deal. They'll be back. That's all I wanted to say. Like, it'll be okay. Like, if you don't get it today, it's gonna be okay. They will be back. Thank you everyone for your support, for my Substack subscribers, for those of you who share my Substack posts, for those of you who have bought shirts already. Thank you, because losing my day job, I didn't know like what I was gonna do with my life. And I was really scared in January. when everything happened, and I didn't know if I was gonna be okay, and because of my community, because you have all really rallied around me and you've supported me, you know, you've helped with, like, the shirts I've been selling to try and support, the blog and just, just helping me share my work, and just the support, like, just the kindness that everyone has given me, um, I'm really grateful, and I don't think there's anything I'll ever be able to do to, like, repay the gratitude I have for all of you, but I just wanted to say thank you so much because, like, this blog is the community, you know, like, I'm here and I'm tending to the space, like, I'm tending to a garden, but, like, when you're tending to a garden, the garden is, like, the flowers and the plants, like, they do their thing, and you're just there to hopefully help them, and, like, the community, I'm here to grow into this community, but the community is everything. I'm just the the person, like, taking care of plucking out weeds and things that are harmful. Um, so without my community, you know, I'd just be a gardener without with no garden, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that metaphor even makes sense, but I like to make things visual. And anyway, it's an honor to care for this community, and it's an honor to be surrounded by such really amazing humans and people because all of you are really amazing. And yeah, it's really neat that you choose to spend your time with me when there are so many other places and people you could spend time with. So I'm grateful for you. I will see you all next week. I don't know what time or day yet. It's just getting really hot in here. And so I need to, like, turn on a fan or something, and the fan is really loud, and you won't be able to hear me anymore, and I'm just starting to sweat. I can't. And I gotta get ready for my call, so I've gotta go. Thank you all so much. Talk next week. Bye.